Greetings and welcome. This is Psychic Medium Roberto, and I truly hope you are doing well. We are guided and led by Spirit if we choose. Trigger warning: the subject matters of a mature nature and deals with true crime events, and also pertaining to children, unfortunately. All cases, names, people are treated as alleged until proven in a court of law. All numbers used in the cases pertain to the case context specifically and may not bear resemblance to similar or same numbers you may have in your date of birth. And welcome to Intuitive Sundays, episode 27. It is June 22. And while Africa and Europe and let's say the Middle East are waking up this morning, we will know that US bombers were in the region of Iran and have bombed Iran. So we'll have a look at that in the numbers. I did pick it up in the previous podcast. And then what I'm going to do for this episode is we're going to look at next week. So starting with Monday, June 23rd, going all the way to June 30th, I've got all the key players' numbers here, including Iran, America. America has very similar numbers to to Israel, beg your pardon, and Palestine. And then I've also got China, and I've also got Russia's numbers here, as I do see a buildup, for example, June 28, Saturday. June 28 may include Friday, but we'll go nitty-gritty now. These are all Chinese numbers here, Saturday. Sunday, we've got a 2, 9, 11, 2. Two people coming together. We'll go deeper. But these are all Russia's numbers here. So I'm definitely seeing a build-up next week. We'll have a look. To start the episode, I'm going to be just briefly looking at Harmony Montgomery and Summer Wells, who pinged on me this week. And you'll know they have their respective readings on the channel. And I believe I was reminded that it would have been Harmony's birthday this month. This is her Earth birthday month. And, we still don't have all the answers for her, unfortunately. And I just wanted to remind us in the community, and we know in Summer Wells, she effectively went missing during June. This bright spark here, both brilliant energies, here for a reason that we will never forget, and we will prevent harm coming to children, especially by the people that call themselves caregivers. All right, so I'm going to go into the week that was. This was last week's calendar. I haven't re-highlighted any elements, but I did highlight in the previous episode. I've included Karen Reed's acquittal of the murder charges, at least. We've got, in my opinion, a very unusual explosion at SpaceX. Then on June the 20th, Suzanne Morphew, her husband was rearrested for murder. June 20, so we'll have a look at that. And then, of course, waking up this morning, and I was waiting. I was going to record later Sunday. This is now just after 8. But, of course, waking up to the situation with the bombers. So Trump has got himself involved, has he? So let's just have a look here. Things start spicing up on June 18. Now, interestingly, when I did the court reading for Karen, there was the element of, you see on the day, there's these 3 9s, which is chaos. Right? Things aren't perfect. Things aren't what they're meant to be. When we're looking at it from a crime situation, treacherous numbers. These are the familiar numbers we found at the second court date, that I'm just going to say the courts, and of course the city that represents the case, didn't have their ducks in a row. It was all bullshit in the end. The physical evidence was so key in this case, and unfortunately Keith is still, his murder, and he's represented by the 15-6 here, his murder is still not accounted for. And we all knew from a long time it was not Karen. The pedo police were hiding their farm of girls and boys that they were grooming until one of them impregnated, got one of the girls impregnated. And so the story unfolds of the murder of Karen's loving husband, boyfriend, that we find a conspiracy within the boys in blue. So egg on your face, including the judge. The judge, I must say, as dodge as ever. Dodgy, dodgy, dodgy. So Thursday, June 19, we forgot about Elon. Elon lost another engine, did he? So these numbers here, 33.6 is my concern in his case, because explosion and fire and bomb, in a sense, represent the number 6. I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat here because I've looked at this a number of times, and I've just looked at it right now, and I'm still getting the same answer. So this is where everything blows up in this time zone here and going into here. So I just want to draw your attention because I've seen something interesting here. So from this zone here, where are we? From there, then to here, we'll tell the story. The explosion goes off. We already know on that day there's 999s to start the day off anyway. We can see there's issues already in the morning. What concerns me is, why would there be a 1910-1 post the event? So in other words, in a normal business environment, let's say, what was transactional about the SpaceX rocket blowing up? I've seen these numbers before when it happened before. So 16.7 is Elon. Hidden is a 25.7. Oh, this sounds familiar. Two people have beef. Hidden. 257. Two people have beef. So who are the two people that have beef? Was this a real explosion? Or was it done as I almost want to say like an apology? Oh, don't worry, buddy. I smeared your name in the papers a bit there about the Epstein files and taking numerous flights to the Epstein island. Sorry, I only showed where you were looking and looking at the girls. I won't show the video of the other. So the buddy that got pissed off says, hey, dude, you owe me something. And I want it to be spectacular. Just saying, there's certainly a probability of that happening here. The transactional number on June 19 The transactional number on June 19, if we go to the +3, would be Uncle Trump's number. 22-4, where 16-7 and the issue is, what is the message being sent out to the world or to Buddy? And I know it sounds a bit weird, but I've picked that vibe up twice when both have gone off. Remember the one went quite into the stratosphere type vibe? I may have mentioned there was a possible payload. And there were a lot of 4s in there as well. Documentation, evidence. This 22-4, funny enough, speaks about evidence. I wonder if all the evidence was destroyed as well. These guys are having fun, huh? Before the failure, there's a 15-6. Before the failure, there's a 15-6. Tampering, someone tampering. Because surely in this day and age, engines are least of their problem. Just saying. Even though it might be a newer, bigger one. Kaboom. All right, so let's go to Suzanne Morphew. Husband was rearrested. And if you've watched the show and the follow-up comments, that show impacted me quite dramatically. But good on the police. I feel they are, as we know, and I'm sure a lot of you might agree, they are on the right track. I've been told to leave the balloon. I'm going to leave the balloon. Let's do a preamble to Trump, the US. And in the previous podcast, I said I don't want to be an alarmist, and I'm not an alarmist. But if it pings on me too many times, let's say if the same number sequences pair up and things are happening, then there's something happening. And let me just say, for those that are thinking I'm biased, I just want to say, of course, no one in the world wants a country that is prone to violence of any kind, of any country, that can cause devastating mass casualties, right? So the world watches the world. Countries watch each other. Countries support each other. I believe, now I'm looking from the war perspective, right? I believe before the launch happened, there's a 27-9 plus 9 conflict. Now, whether we take the threat seriously from China, from Russia, from Iran themselves, that if America gets involved, there will be issues. So I'm just going to say, knowing that there's a conflict of interest, 2799, the operation went ahead. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. So I'm sitting already in June. The US, East Coast is now tipping into June 22, while the West Coast is still enjoying a bit of barbecue and pina coladas. You see, this 22-4 year, if we look at it from a military point of view, right? The 4 always seems to stand out when there's instructions, particularly in a military situation. Now, we can say it's not just a 4 on its own. There's a 2 and a 2. There's a power number here, 22-4. So 1, yes, we can agree there's a collective of people But on another hand, there's 1, 2, and there's another 2. You know the saying, for every action there is a reaction. So we can say Trump and Israel, and we can say the rest of the world that are allies to the US and Israel. We can say, we can include them. Here it is here, 28.10.1, sending a message to the world of this high-level operation. But now there's 3 here. There's a 3 here. Whereas before the event, there's a 2. So clearly we can say, yes, 3, America is now involved. An operation went down, yes. Cluster 10.1, I mean, on a bomb level is huge. So what I want to do is we go into next week, right? So from Monday the 23rd to June 30. Now, I'm not going to point out strategies on each side. I'm not going to point out what, right? Let's look at the story. Monday. And we can already say it's happening now. What I'm getting to is, look here. On the Monday, there's a 23.5, which will be, it's part of America's numbers, but if you look in the Arab world, let's say, look here, Iran's also got the 23.5, 14.5. But what this is telling me, now I'm looking at this from a general, I'm not pinpointing who's at where yet. Generally speaking, the Arab nations, I'm not talking just Iran or even China or Russia at this stage, I'm talking the Arabian community, I'm telling you, are making a pledge, 29.11.2. Where did we see 29.11.2? I spoke about it at the beginning on this chart. I just want to just double check something. Because once we have a 29.11.2 in play, whether in true crime or now more intensely in a war situation, because you don't want two countries making a pact, or even a collective making a pact to go after other countries. So in other words, the Arabian countries are now talking. Look what happens. 29.11.2 becomes a 38.11.2. Here's a good example of something. If we go to today, so US and Israel now make a 37.10.10. Make a 37.10.1, right? So there's a collective against the let's say target. Now by Monday, that's why I say it's happening now even, by Monday, late tonight, Sunday tonight and early Monday morning, the Arabian community would have come to an agreement of what is going to happen to the US and Israel. 29.11.2, America and Israel are the focus in this. Now it starts with the Arabians. 38.11.2 is suggesting someone else is now also going to get involved, not America getting involved with Israel. And in my opinion, if I have to go forward, oh, by the way, now that I've just seen this, you recall I did a kind of a preview like this with Russia and Ukraine. Here's the same number sequences here. And we spoke about ballistic missiles and these hypersonic missiles, right? People, or let me rather say countries, the 23.5 group, the wider group, the wider community 23.5 are going to get more, and they're going to be sponsored, is the word now I'm getting. They're going to be given these hypersonic ballistic missiles. We know for transparency purposes, I did see a report of an alleged Chinese cargo big military airplane supposedly having dropped off ammunitions of sorts, and that their transponders and everything were switched off, allegedly, is what I read. So it's going to be quiet. I'm sure there will be spates of whatever, like even Monday night. These are all missile numbers here, Monday night. But if we go forward, there's going to be a build-up here, right? So Wednesday, he has big military numbers here and American military. Yeah, Wednesday. Army build-up, military. Now, I know it's easy to say, I've read reports, there's airplanes flying into the Pacific, American equipment moving around, but full army movement Wednesday 25, and then in the words of Trump, like you've never seen before, of that nature, right? Because this is all, so Wednesday, 31-4, 13-4, 44, 22-4, 13-4 is all American military. Right? June 26 is your retaliation day, I believe. Hidden, we have a 32-5, so it talks about destruction. So we know, according to Trump's latest press statement, they successfully bombed 3 sites. 14-5 represents the Middle East. Who is going to be responsible for this retaliation? Suggested tells me on Friday, well, it will happen Thursday, but it's revealing to me the next day, 15-6, and we find 15-6 in the middle of the day for Iran. So there's going to be a retaliation. There will be a response, like a bad one, from the US and Israel. So much so, and it's probably happening already, but from June 28, Saturday, June 28, June 29, now there's other people getting involved here, eh? So Saturday pings hard on China. Here's a China day, yeah. The escalation continues, which is not a good thing to say in a war situation. So China Saturday, there'll be impact on China on Saturday, or the news. Okay, Russia is Sunday, June 29. These are all Russian numbers here. Have a look at this 44-8 on Sunday. All right, let me tell you first what I was going to tell you about the 44-8. But as I was going to tell you, I got hit with something. I beg your pardon. 44-8. If you look at Russia's numbers up here, there's a 44-8 Russia, 44-8 Russia. But you see, so it's also about the combination of numbers, right? So here's China, Saturday, June 28th. Overnight, here's a 29-11-2, which was prominent in Monday's 29-11-2, but now the second group is Russia. I'm not going to get too heavy with the numbers, but and of course, if someone tries to bully us, we won't take it lightly. So in other words, Iran and I believe Russia as well said, don't attack Iran. The decisions and finalities and the legalities about how war works, I'm not a war person. Well, I've never been to the military, let's put it that way. We got problems. There's deals made on Monday of who's going to get involved, what's going to happen. There's a steady build-up. I would say, of course, it's already happening, as I mentioned, but Wednesday, June 25, look at all of these fours here. That's military. That is scale military. For example, what we've been seeing this week, if there's let's say there's 10 aeroplanes flying there and 10 aeroplanes flying there, and there's two warships or aircraft carriers moving closer to the Mediterranean, that would constitute like 20% of what Wednesday is suggesting. Type thing. Not an accurate example, but you know what I mean. This Wednesday escalates dramatically. What's troubling me about Thursday, 26th, it starts with the 26th, so there can be explosions and things like that. But it feels, maybe it's because of the efforts of retaliation might bring around things like sabotage. So you've got to be careful of that. So in other words, lone people or small groups, because here's 14.5, I'm picking up on something here. Just got to watch out for sabotage issues here on Thursday. Well, I would say Wednesday night into Thursday morning, sabotage issues, small groups coming to attack. It's small groups with explosions. The Friday, if there was sabotage on the Thursday, is reflected on the Friday. So this 42.6 is bothering me. If things are escalating and things are getting bad, right? What comes to mind is the missile that hit the Israeli hospital, right? This 42.6 here on the Friday, June 27, holy day for both sides, I believe. This 42.6 outcome of the day, which means it looks like here, because all of these nines are the chaos here. So again, probably nighttime into morning, nighttime Thursday, Friday. The outcome. This 42.6 is not destruction of military equipment. It's not destruction of infrastructure. It points more to human beings being, or let's say civilians, right? This 42.6, if this happens, this is destruction of human beings, families, civilians. So, in other words, Iran says, no, we were aiming for an army base 500 yards that way, and it happens to hit a hospital. Anyone retaliating because of that can say, well, we were aiming for the airfield, but it landed on a children's whatever, school. You know, that's how bad it's going to get. These warmongers. There's escalation here. So there's escalation in activity, and there's escalation in countries. China, Russia. So here's, okay, final note. I don't know what the duration of the ep is at the moment. I'm also currently on medication, so I'm not 100%. So we got this 44.8 on the Sunday, right? Now I'm just going to say, I'm not going to say yet whether this is the case, but I'm going to just say, worst case scenario, this 44.8 can be a tumultuous bomb. It might not be, well, let's just say it's certainly not an atomic bomb. But what concerns me is the next day, June 30. And I spoke about this. It was positioned in another, where was it here? June 15. This 30 outcome 3 bothered me. They linked through the 369. So June 30. So, okay, let's go through Sunday. If this is a bomb year, because this 268 can be explosions here, right? And we go into the morning, this 30 outcome 3 is not good for anyone. So in other words, the impact of this 44.8 will be the equivalent, not the same, but very similar to a nuclear explosion. So I'm not a bomb expert, and I don't mean to be alarmist. But whatever the rankings are in terms of bombs and what they can do, if something goes down here, it is the world will know about it. And what bothers me is we have this 44.8 before it happens, or I beg your pardon, before the 30 outcome 3, which is problematic. That the outcome, this 36.99, I know I'm getting very negative here, but if something goes down here, the potential's here. This is when you have a 369 plus 9 conflict. So even in who you kill, there's a conflict, which confirms this issue here, 42 outcome 6. Whoever drops the bombs on civilians there's gonna be retaliation. And I'm gonna say that this destruction here that I'm talking about on the Friday, where it's gonna cross the lines of rules of engagement. I beg your pardon. Whatever the outcome is of this atrocity here, that's 36.99 mass, and includes civilian casualties. So unfortunately, we've had the hint and tinge of war around with Ukraine and Russia. The ongoing conflicts in the Middle East. But now I believe the big players, as we know, US got involved last night. All the big players are going to get involved now. What is the world coming to? Karen Reid is free. You know, I'm not the kind of, I don't do this on my channel, but I'm just going to say, you know, if something's accurate, then I'm blessed through spirit that it's accurate, right? But at the time of saying that Karen Reid's going to be convicted of a lesser charge, I mean, I don't understand everything. how law works or how anything works. So clearly she was found not guilty for murder or the attempted murder charges or second-degree murder, but found guilty for drinking and driving or operating a vehicle. And what crossed my mind after that, by the way, all the police officers that were at that party and involved in that party or going out were all operating under the influence. Don't forget, they were all drunk or had alcohol in them. And we will get justice. And by the looks of things, there will be justice for Suzanne. Eh? Isn't that a beautiful thing? All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's keep our eyes and ears open this week. There's certainly a build-up by the end of the week from a global war perspective, with Russia and China getting involved. And I would go as far as to say not sending vessels and ships behind people's backs or uncloned or they can't be transponded, whatever. It will be in the open. It will be in the open. So if you are in that region, in those regions, I want to just see what was bugging me. All right, I'll leave it at that. So let's just keep our eyes and ears on what's going to happen this week. And I hope peace can be the ultimate winner, because there are no winners in war for either side. And may you stay blessed and enjoy the rest of your day or evening. And may you stay blessed. Gratitude and blessings for watching the shows. And I'll see you soon. Bye for now.